everybody, my name is Deja and welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a haul. Now, I'm filming this in the summer, but this is going to be like fall haul. So yeah, because I've already filmed a haul like 2 months ago that I still haven't posted, so I need to spread them out a little bit. But I wanted to film this before I went back to school because I'm actually going to be with all the books that I'm hauling. When I go back to school, I won't be with a lot of these books probably, and some of them I've already read, so I won't be bringing them with me. So we need to do this haul now. I think I have a little over like 40-ish books, so she's a little chunky, but not too bad. So I generally like to go in like piles of like how I got the books. So I'm going to be starting off with my biggest pile, which is all of the books I got from little free libraries in my local area when I went around to a whole bunch of them during the Tarot Readathon. I have a reading vlog where I went to them. So yeah, I don't remember which exact reading vlog it is because I filmed so many that month. So the first one that I have is The Chain by Adrienne McKinsey. I have not read The Island, but I own it. It's right there behind me. And I've heard pretty mixed things about The Chain. I heard that the beginning is really good, the end is not, but it was for free, so I picked it up anyways. And don't worry, I picked up a lot of books at these little free libraries, but I left a ton of books. Most of the books that I was gonna sell on Pango I just gave to little free libraries. I have a little stack that I'm gonna be getting rid of, but most of them I just left at the little free libraries. So yeah, this one I just picked up for free, and I did have interest in this before. I have heard mixed things, so I never wanted to buy it full price, but now it's for free, so I can actually read it and find out for myself if I like it or not. Then this next one I picked up was Bedbugs, and I've never heard of this book, but it's actually getting republished this year under a different name. I can't remember what the new title is. It's like The Apartment or something. I remember the cover is like black and purple, I think. I can't remember what it exactly is called. This is about a couple and they find their dream apartment, but the woman keeps thinking that there's bed bugs or something like that in the apartment, and the landlord's like, nah, there's no bed bugs. So she's going crazy, and the main character fears that she's going mad until a more sinister explanation presents itself. She may literally be confronting the bedbug problem from hell. So, sounds pretty interesting. And then I picked up Say You Still Love Me by K.A. Tucker. I love The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. It was on my favorites of last year. So I believe this is about a businesswoman who is the vice president at her dad's multi-billion-dollar real estate firm, and she has a second chance romance with a handsome new security guard at where she works, and he was actually the first love of her life. So it sounds pretty good. I'm excited to read it because I really want to read more from K.A. Tucker to see if I actually like her, or if The Simple Wild was just kind of like a fluke. And then I picked up this one called Liberty, and I don't remember what this one was about, but it is a historical fiction, I believe. It's about one young black girl's attempt to find a place where she can be fully and only herself. It takes place during the Reconstruction era in Brooklyn, and that's all I really think that I needed to read to get drawn into this, because even though I'm not a huge fan of historical fiction, I just love blackness in stories. And so because it was free, and it was honestly like also like a book of the month, but it was free obviously, so yeah. And I just, as I said, love blackness in stories, so I picked this one up. And then I picked up this one too, which is The Book of Longings. And I've read the synopsis of this multiple times, and I still do not understand even what genre this book is. But I've seen this cover around a lot, so I wanted to pick it up for myself. I also got from the little free libraries Goodnight Nobody by Jennifer Weiner. I saw this cover and I was like, ew, don't want that. And then I was like, let me just read the synopsis because I've heard of Jennifer Weiner before. And it was like about a semi-accidental mother of 3, and suburbia has been full of unpleasant surprises, and then fellow mother is murdered, and she finds that the unsolved mystery is the most exciting thing to happen in her small little town. And so she tries to uncover a lot of things about the murders, and she's drawn deeper into the murdered woman's past, and she begins to uncover the secrets and lies behind the picket fence facade. Like, it sounded so good, and even though the cover is not giving, I still wanted to pick it up just because of the synopsis. I also picked up The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune. It's a little damaged, and this one is YA, but I have read 3 of TJ Klune's works now, or have I read 4? I've read 4, I lie, and I really enjoyed all of them, so I wanted to try something else from him. This one was there, and it was free, so I picked it up. That's kind of like the theme of little free libraries, is I see something, mildly interested, pick it up because it's free. Next up, I have Goosebumps Deep Trouble by R.L. Stine. This is the 19th book in the Goosebumps series, and I did read this one for Summerween. So when I went to the little free libraries, it was like a couple weeks before Summerween, and I saw this one, and it's Goosebumps, it had like ocean vibes, so I was like, okay, it'll be perfect for Summerween, and it was. I really had a good time with this one. I talk about it more in my Summerween vlog and also in my July wrap-up. And the last book I picked up from that Little Free Library trip is Milk Fed by Melissa Broader. This one was actually the first book I got at the Little Free Libraries, and I was shocked because this one was recommended to me over and over by Haley from Haley Hughes. Y'all all know her, and I'll be talking about her later on in this haul, because I'm not gonna lie, Haley is like the one person that I will generally buy like most of her recommendations, because we have pretty similar tastes. We actually did a video on her channel because I went to visit her for a little weekend trip back in July. If you scroll back a little bit, we actually did a tier ranking of each other's favorites, like top 40 favorite books, and we had a lot of books in common. So yeah, I take a lot of her recommendations. We have pretty similar tastes. We like a lot of things that are the same, and yeah, so a lot of these books were inspired by her, or I literally bought them while I was with her, so I felt the pressure. Not that she was like, buy the book, but like obviously she's like, oh my god, like that book's good, that book's good. I'm like, okay, like let me buy it, you know what I'm saying? But this one she read, and she was like, a lot of the things that we know about each other, that I feel like we have in common, I feel like could make you like this book. It has a lot of trauma, a lot of dissecting of societal issues, which I really enjoyed, and it's kind of funny, but it's more like literary fiction, and it has a lot of different things in it, elements in it. I also talk about this one in my July wrap-up as well, but this one was really good. I gave it 4.5 stars. Next, I'm going to move on to my second biggest stack, which is the books I got at Half Price Books with Haley, because where I live in North Carolina, we don't have any Half Price Books, and I feel like the closest one is like hours away, so I've never been to one before, literally never in my life, and that was like one of my big requests. I was like, we have to go to Half Price Books. So we did. We went to 2, and it was crazy, okay? And we also went to some other bookstores, and I got some other books on that trip as well from various other ways. So the first book I picked up, I could not get the sticker fully off, but it's When the Reckoning Comes by Latanya McQueen. I read this one, and I really enjoyed it. It was only $7, so I wanted to pick it up. I read this one, I think I gave it 5 stars or 4.5 stars. It is a horror that takes place on a southern plantation. It's super good. Haley also bought this one as well. Next up is another one that was inspired by Haley, and that is The Good Sister. I've been interested in this one ever since she talked about it. She did a Sally Hepworth author taste test reading vlog a couple months back, and I've been interested in it ever since, because as I said, it follows sisters because it's called The Good Sister, but I think one of them also is neurodivergent, and she said the rep is pretty well done. You know, she's a therapist, so she knows these things. And she also said there's other commentary that she thinks I would enjoy as well. Another one that Haley has read and liked is Hostage by Claire McIntosh. Honestly, I pointed out this book and I was like, oh, I've heard good things about that. And she was like, yeah, I like that book. And I was like, hey, it was probably from her that I heard. Because sometimes I just passively pick up recommendations and don't remember who they're from. But this one I thought would be kind of fun because it's about a hostage situation on an airplane. I thought about reading this on the airplane back, but I didn't. And I think that's for a good reason. And then I also picked up Night Bitch, which is another one that she loves. And I've honestly heard mixed things about this one, and I've been interested in it on and off since it first came out, because I think we were going to read this for Stacks of Strange, which is a book club that I was a part of that is no longer running as of now. Maybe it'll come back eventually. I have no idea. But this one I think was one that we were going to read or something like that. So I've been interested in it ever since, but it was at Half Price Books, really cheap. So I picked it up, and I believe it's about a mother, and she believes that she's turning into a dog. And I believe it has a lot of commentary on motherhood, which is something I really like in my thrillers and horror. Next up was one that was actually one that I picked up because of Kayla from Books and Lala, because she was like, is this my favorite book of the year? I don't know, but she didn't really have anything else to put in place. So because she loves it so much, I wanted to pick it up, and that is Nothing to See Here. And this one is about exploding children. I think Haley has read this one and liked it as well. So she described it to me. It's about like a nanny or something, and she takes on these children that have like this weird thing about them, and the weird thing is that when they get stressed or anxious, I think they explode. So that seems really interesting. I'm used to be a nanny, so that should be pretty fun for me to read. And then I also picked up this book called Indigo, which I've never heard before, and I'm not sure, it has all these authors on it. So I don't know, I didn't really think about it, but maybe it's like a collection. I'm not sure, because it doesn't really sound like a collection. I don't know. Oh, it says in the back that it's a collaborative novel by 10 authors. And I've heard of not many of these, but I have heard of Christopher Golden. So, oh, and Shauna Maguire's in here as well. So that's pretty cool. But I read the back of this, and this is what really intrigued me. This is not the synopsis, but it's just like a little snippet, it says, "The blackness inside her strained against her skin as if she were too small a vessel to contain it, and she felt frozen, yet bursting with its incomprehensible movement. It was like a living thing that coiled and writhed and yearned to escape the confines of her body. But she couldn't draw it forth, couldn't use it. Indigo had been cut off from her power, unable even to reach it, as though a wall had been thrown up between herself and the shadows. But she could feel them, and when she began to sense the true immensity of the darkness of the void, she wondered why it had never simply smothered her. Guess what happens now? You kill me," she croaked, tasting the bitterness of those other shadows in her mouth like blood. Like, the writing just sounded so phenomenal, and so I decided to pick it up. I don't even know what genre it is, but it has Shauna Maguire, so that really makes me really happy. I also picked up The Dead Romantics, which is a romance that I've heard super good things about and I've been wanting to read. I just haven't had the chance to buy it yet, and it was there for cheap. So I picked it up, and I believe this is a romance where one person is a ghost. So a lot of people I know who like thrillers also really like this one too. I like romance in general as well, but this one just intrigued me. Me and Haley both picked up A Twisted Love Story by Samantha Downing. I wanted to pick this one up because I'm actually the co-host for the Literally Dead Book Club for August, and we are reading this book. The live show for that has probably already happened by the time this video is posted, so if it is, I will link it down below if I can remember. But I read My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing before, and I really liked it, so I'm excited to pick this one up as well. I think it's going to be good, and it is literally blurred by Geneva Rose, which, if you don't know, The Perfect Marriage is one of my favorite books of the year. I know she's unhinged. I know she doesn't have much depth or nuance to her, but I don't care. I love her anyways, which is a little unlike me. But I believe it's about a couple who's kind of like in a tumultuous relationship where the goods are really good, the bads are really bad, and they break up a lot and things like that. And one time when they broke up, the worst breakup ever, one of them kind of takes things too far and ends up killing somebody, or somebody ends up dead is what it says in the synopsis. And apparently there's also a detective on their trail, so I'm really excited to try this one and discuss it in the Literally Dead Book Club live show. Next up is Mayfly by CJ Lead. This is one that came out earlier this year, and I think it's actually extreme horror, which is interesting because I've never seen an extreme horror be traditionally published before. This one is apparently about a female serial killer, which that's all that I need, plus this cover. Yeah. And the last book I picked up from our Half Price Books little rendezvous is All the Sinners Bleed. I love this book, and I read it before I bought it, but I literally love her so much. And I read S.A. Cosby's two other works. I'm sure he has, but I read Blacktop Wasteland and Razor Blade Tears, so I was super excited to pick this one up. And I thought this one was going to be my favorite because it follows a detective perspective, and it had something to do with like a school shooting, but something darker. And I was like, okay, like, I think I'm going to love her, but let me not get my hopes up. And I absolutely did. Okay, this is in my summer reading vlog. This is like one of my favorite books of the year. It's my favorite S.A. Cosby. I love Sean. Like, after this book, Sean and I are on a first name basis. Like, I never even looked up his name before, but once I read this book, I was like, okay, what is the S.A. for? Sean Andre Cosby, my king. Okay, I just love this book so much, and yeah, if you can handle the content and the trigger warnings, pick it up. We also went to a third bookstore that was not a Half Price Books. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like this little bookstore that was right by the Half Price Books, one of them, the big one that we went to, which was by a Goodwill too. So if you live in Austin and you know of a Goodwill right next to a big Half Price Books, the bookstore is right by that, so maybe that'll help. But it is a bookstore that sells only like women and queer authors, which it was really cool. So Haley was like, I got to take you there, plus it was like on our way to the next Half Price Books. So we both picked up a couple books. We actually both bought It Came From the Closet, which is an anthology, which, you know, I kind of starting to realize that I don't really love short story collections or anthologies. I really like Eric LaRocca, but I don't think that's kind of like where it ends. But I wanted to pick this one up anyways because 25 contemporary queer and trans writers reflecting on the horror films that shaped them and shook them, from Hitchcock to Halloween to Hereditary. Like, that just sounds so good. Even my dad was like, it sounds pretty good. And, you know, he's like an old white man, so you can kind of get an idea. But he even was like, sounds pretty interesting. And I think that this is just going to be so good because, you know, horror is such a queer-coded genre. Even if it's not like necessarily like an in-your-face queer movie, it's so queer-coded. And so to have queer authors reflecting on these movies, the horror movies, which I absolutely love, it's gonna eat. I also picked up There Are Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This is one that I read. It was actually the first book I read so far this year, like all the way back in January, and I loved it, so I picked it up. Haley also bought this one because of me, but I had to get a physical copy for myself. And then I picked up this little tiny novella called Ceremonials, which I've never heard of, but I love the cover. And it says that it is a 12-part lyrical novella, and it follows two girls who fall in love at a boarding school, and one of them dies suddenly on the eve of their graduation, and the other one can't shake their ghost. It's a narrative about obsession, the minotaur, and the veil between life and death. Like, it just sounded so good. And the cover, and it's short. Like, I've never read a 12-part lyrical novella before. She sounds like she's gonna be really good. While we were driving, we just saw a Little Free Library one day, and we were like, Cameron, pull over! And so we went to the Little Free Library, and I got 2 books. First one I got is The Prisoner by B.A. Paris. Haley was like, I gave this book 1 star and I hated it, but I was like, but it's free. So I got it anyways. And I don't know what it's about. It's, I think, about a woman who gets kidnapped and is held prisoner. And I do own 2 B.A. Parises. They're right behind me, Behind Closed Doors and The Breakdown. Haven't read either, but people love Behind Closed Doors. And then I also picked up The Flight Attendant, which I've never heard of, but it's a signed copy. Let me see, I never even looked at the signature. Period, okay? But this one sounded really interesting. It's about a woman who is an alcoholic, okay? She drinks, you know, she's getting drunk a lot. And she's also a flight attendant. So one day she's just like in Dubai, chilling, drinking, doing what she does. And she wakes up the next morning and a man is next to her. And she's like, okay, like this is usual, you know, normally when I get drunk, things occur. But then she's like getting up, getting dressed, and kind of like realizes like the man is dead. There's blood around him, he's dead. And she doesn't really know what happened to him. She doesn't remember because she was literally blackout drunk. And so she just, you know, gets on her next flight, her next job, flies somewhere else and doesn't tell nobody. So people are like, whatever happened to that man, I guess. I don't know, but somebody's finding out that she's connected to this man, and you know, she kind of has to figure out what happened, because did she murder him, did she not? She doesn't remember. And then the last book that I got was basically gifted to me by Haley, and that is The Perfect Ruin, because I ruined this book. She let me borrow it to go to the pool because she really wants me to read this book. She thinks I don't like it, and I've been wanting to read it. And so I was reading it in the pool. I didn't even drop it in the pool, but she got wet, okay? She got really wet, and it's still wet, a little damp, I'm not gonna lie, and that's been days since I was there, so yeah. But this is a classic domestic thriller written by a Black author, and that makes me so excited because I love seeing Black authors in thriller and horror genres. And it's about a woman who had something happen to her in the past. We don't really know what it is. I started this book actually, but I still don't know what it is. So she eventually finds out the name of the woman that caused the thing that destroyed her life. So she basically decides to worm her way into her life, and we haven't figured out the plan yet. I haven't gotten to that part, but I think she's out for her revenge. So I went to a used bookstore by me that's like my fave. It's by Campus. So the first book I picked up is Pretty Things by Janelle Brown. This is a thriller. I don't know much about it. I did read the synopsis when I bought it, but I've heard pretty good things about this. I think it's like a pretty popular thriller, so I decided to pick it up. Then I also picked up By the Book by Jasmine Guillory. This one, it just looks so cute. I think this is like Grumpy Sunshine, and I think it's about a girl who, or a woman I should say, that works at a like publishing house, and she overhears her boss complaining about this like high profile author that has not delivered his manuscript yet. So she wants to like take this opportunity to try to get recognition and like get in their boss's good graces. So she goes to the author's mansion and finds that he is not just like some author. He's literally jaded and withdrawn. She needs him to deliver. So with her encouragement, the story begins to spill onto the page, and they soon discover that they have more in common than either of them expected. So it's a little romance, and it sounded really cute, so I picked it up. And then I also picked up The Nesting by CJ Cook. This one just says it's a chilling modern gothic thriller, and it has to do with a nanny. That's why I think I picked it up, because when I picked this up I was still a nanny. So yeah, and I'm not the biggest fan of gothic nanny thrillers, The Turn of the Key, but I picked her up anyways. And I also got Queen of the Conquered by Case and Callender. Don't know what this is about, but I really liked Felix Ever After by Case and Callender, so I decided to pick it up. So it says, on the island of this place I can't pronounce, this girl I can't pronounce was the only survivor when her family was massacred by the colonizers. Now the king of the islands has declared that he will choose his successor from among eligible noble families, and she's ready to exact her revenge. Period. We love a revenge story. And then I picked up 2 books by Octavia E. Butler. I picked up Fledgling, which I've read and loved, and also Kindred, which I haven't read yet, but I want to. But Fledgling 8, okay, it is a vampire story, and it's just so good. If you haven't read it, pick it up. But yeah, I also wanted to get Kindred because it's a classic, literally. Now moving on to a little Barnes & Noble trip that I made, because there was actually a little Barnes & Noble opening up near me. Why do I keep calling everything little? There was a Barnes, it's actually not little, it's quite big. There was a Barnes & Noble opening up near me, and the ribbon cutting was happening by Kennedy Ryan, Queen. And so she was doing a signing after, so I went, of course, and it's a beautiful, beautiful Barnes & Noble. It's stunning. So I picked up some books while I was there too, because, you know, I had to. So the first one I picked up was Not So Perfect Strangers by Ella Stratton. This is another one that Haley has been raving about, so I wanted to pick it up. And this one is another domestic thriller told by a Black author. Period. I think it's about a Black woman who's like escaping a domestic abuse relationship, and then there's also a white woman that she meets that's facing something similar, but I think it's like commentary about like white woman tears. I also picked up The Nanny, which is one that came out earlier this year and I've been really wanting to read. We kind of match, period. I actually have never worn this shirt because I'm like, I don't know if the blue goes with the red. Let me know if you think the blue goes with the red hair. But I picked this one up and I believe it's about a nanny. A lot of books that I picked up have nannies in them, but this one's a romance this time. It's about a nanny, and I think that she actually has an OnlyFans, and the dad that she's nannying for actually is like her biggest customer. So yeah, that sounds really good to me. And then I also picked up Dark Harvest because I was like, okay, it's before Summerween. This one was on my Summerween TBR, so let me buy it. It was good. No, I shouldn't say good. It was okay. I think I gave it 3 stars. And I talk about it in my July wrap-up and my Summerween vlog. And then I also picked up Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey because I was doing a reading vlog for Patreon with this book. I haven't read this one yet. I started a little bit, and it's about a woman who she kind of is estranged from her mom, and her dad, I think, used to be like a serial killer. So her mom's on her deathbed, so she returns home and literally is in the home of a serial killer. And it's kind of marketed as a haunted house, but I was told that it's not a haunted house necessarily, and it has like a lot to do with the serial killer aspect of it. And I don't like haunted houses at all, so I'm hoping that it's not, but we'll see. So I also have my Book of the Month books that I have received over the past couple months. So I have She Started It by Sion Gilbert, I think is how you say that. And originally I wasn't drawn to this book, but I really wanted to get the next book, which was only an add-on. It wasn't a main pick. So, but I actually did hear some people talking about it on some live shows and stuff, and they were really liking it. I think it's about these girls who are invited to this bachelorette party by someone that they knew as like a kid, but nobody's spoken to her in years. And so she is kind of, I think, trying to get revenge on them and trying to like kill them maybe. I'm not sure, but it sounds honestly pretty good. I've heard good things about it. And so the add-on that I really wanted was The Whispers by Ashley Audrain, because I love The Push by Ashley Audrain. And this one was pretty good too. I think I gave it 4 or 4.5 stars. I enjoyed it, but not as much as The Push. And that one I believe was in my June wrap-up. And then I also pick up Dark Corners by Megan Golden the next month. And this one is the second book to, what is it called? The Night Swim, which I love. Okay, I love that one. And this is the second book to it, which I heard is not as good. I haven't read it yet, but I want to. And then I also picked up The Only One Left by Riley Sager, because this one was one that I just wanted because I own every Riley Sager. I read every Riley Sager, but it was also for my Patreon book club. We call ourselves The Final Chapter. If you haven't joined, you should. Link down below. But we had our book club on this one during July, and so yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Gave it like, it's really like a 4.25, I'm not gonna lie, but I really did like it, and it's like 3rd or 4th place for my favorite Riley Sager. We're on to our last couple final books, and so one I picked up from Amazon that was for my book club, The Final Chapter. Our June book club pick was The Honeys, so I wanted to get a physical copy. I didn't think I was gonna like get all the physical copies of my book club, but I kind of want to, so I decided to pick this one up, and this one was pretty good. I gave it 4 stars. It was also in my June wrap-up. We had a lot of great discussions about this. It follows a gender fluid main character, and their sister recently died in a very traumatic way in front of them, and so they decide to go back to the summer camp that they used to go to with their sister and get to know these girls that their sister was friends with, called the Honeys. And then I have 2 other books that were gifted to me, and these are my last few books. So I have Local Woman Missing. This was gifted to me by a friend in real life, and I haven't read this one yet. I know it's a pretty popular thriller, especially when it came out, and I'm not exactly sure what it's about, but I have always been interested in it. I think it was on my wish list actually. And then the last book that I received was Sorrowland by River Solomon. This one was gifted to me by Elizabeth from the Museum of Grack, because we hosted the tarot readathon together. It was mostly like me and Noelle, but we had people like Elizabeth to like fill out the teams and everything like that. So they were like our co-hosts, and so because she was so gracious and appreciative that we let her co-host with us. She bought me this book because we were talking on the live shows. We had a lot of reading sprints, and we were talking about on them fungal fiction, books that have to do with fungus. And so this one apparently has fungal fiction in it. It is fungal fiction, I should say. So she sent it to me. So thank you so much, Elizabeth. I really appreciate it. So those are all the books that I've acquired over the past like 2 months. No, month and a half, or maybe 2 months, like month and a half, 2 months. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it to the end, leave a little mushroom emoji down below, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye, everybody.
Trying to look like you're winning. I'm writing rhymes in the kitchen, soaking in moments we live in. Yeah, you got the nerve to be on me, faking a life that I had you. If you got my number, don't add me, 'cause baby, I'm a